Hi, I'm going to be sharing today, similar to what I've shared in the past about tapping, EFT, emotional freedom technique, with workshops I used to do with Jennifer Partridge. But before I do that, I want to add one more thing I didn't share in a previous video when I spoke about the Lubavitcher Rebbe on his birthday. It was the night of his birthday. Lubavitcher Rebbe was a Talmudic scholar who I mentioned cross-wove every part, all the different layers of Torah and hidden Torah, concealed Torah, and revealed and simple or straightforward Torah. But also, the Lubavitcher Rebbe was a college student who studied engineering, naval engineering, and he studied in a class with Erwin Schrödinger. So the Lubavitcher Rebbe understood quantum physics, quantum mechanics, and in general, the metaphysical realm extremely intuitively in such a way that when it came to be as a visionary, his comments were as if he was a scientist 30, 40 years before revelations in the scientific field were happening. So in other words, the Lubavitcher Rebbe was also a scientist. And so even though I spoke about him as a leader, as a teacher, as a conduit between the unconditional love of God, and also as somebody who spoke many languages and so on, he also was a scientist. So he told a lot of Jewish people, there's no need for you to go to college. And other people who were in college, he said, you should stay in college. What you're learning will help you to do God's will in the future. And God's will for the Lubavitcher Rebbe included an era, the Messianic redemption, where Jewish people as vanguards for moral and ethical conduct, that each of us should be divine, dignified, sovereign beings who are capable of not being dependent on others and judging others, but rather being a force of love and light in the world, completely as a dwelling to be used by God without a superficial identity in order to be in a state of oneness. And you can see that as a, I mentioned visionary, but as a shepherd, as somebody who did outreach, trying to connect all the people from all parts of the world, as it says about the Messiah, to bring in the remnants of Israel and gather all the dispersed from the exile, and telling people to live in Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel, for the children of Israel, and also giving charity and finding a way to be with everyone in humility. Most people who had personal meetings with him said they felt that level of yechida, the unity, so strong that they mattered to someone in a way they never mattered to anyone. People felt his gaze penetrating them. So this is a person, a being, somebody who was able to break boundaries and bridge gaps. So break walls down and build connections all over the world. And I can't tell you how many people have had visions of him and in their meditations and in different cultures, and have felt that he came to them in a dream, in a prophecy. And so I just wanted to add all this, even though I didn't go in such great detail in the last video. But now I'm going to go into the topic of today, which is tapping. So reproductive healing. This could be physical or metaphysical. And Jennifer Partridge does these workshops. So you really get an insight into yourself when you have woundedness and difficult emotions and you just haven't felt strong enough to go into it yourself. These processes help us to get clear insights, and we keep the body a little distracted because it's holding this juicy or like even sour information that until now we couldn't quite integrate. There's a lot of neuroscience work being done that says that actually whatever you've been through, if you can integrate it and find meaning from it, you can move forward. And we know even people who survived the Holocaust, when we think of Viktor Frankl, I think that's the one who wrote the book, Man's Search for Meaning. So even in such a case, if you can find meaning, if you can integrate the experience and learn about yourself, learn about life, learn about the world in ways that you walk away with something that has transformed you, and you can see how, you've digested the experience, you've processed, and you have absorbed what's for you and filtered out what's not for you and made sense of it and stopped being in that state that is in shock. And you have integrated, you can then move forward. So what is tapping about? It's about integration. So we do process information, we do release information, but we integrate. So this is a way to heal from trauma. Trauma being stuck. Okay, so let's get into it. So obviously this was my experience tapping, but we had a group tapping, which means everybody's broader experience fed into each other. So there are people there who were necessary for the other people in that same field to feel that breakthrough. And even the leader, the one holding space, was able to move through because of the people in the field. So in a way, we owe our gratitude to all the people when we're in a group tapping experience, to all the people who are present and really going in deep. Because it could be that what I'm releasing, someone else really needed, but because of that field, there's so much that's interweaving and releasing, and people are getting unbound and releasing attachments while somebody else is getting that space that they needed, the safety, the belonging, by going through this anyway. So I wrote a lot of notes, but usually during the sessions, you're not really writing notes. You write notes after, you take breaks during the session to write notes. You can look her up, Jennifer Partridge. I'm not trying to, I don't even know if she knows me. I'm not trying to, advertise for her, but she was great. I got a lot of work done through her sessions that she offered completely for free or by donation, depending when. So by giving I'm going to start now flowing into it. By giving my preciousness away and enabling destructive tendencies in myself where I impress others at my expense, I rob myself of my inhibits, my inhibits meaning what it actually inhibits direct healthy channeling is, in this way, I end up robbing myself of my femininity. And that's what inhibits my direct healthy channeling. So the fear of creation, as a condom, the fear of procreation, is what blocks the ability to bring newness in life and regeneration and vitality. And it could be even of grief, because when we yield and accept and flow, we feel worthy of those connections. Rather, if we refuse to feel how precious they were, we can end up feeling unworthy of the focused care. When I and my body was treated like a vending machine, if I joined in trying to make it produce the desired outcome, I had to do work I didn't want to do. When what I really wanted was someone to make time for direct contact with me. And it could be this claustrophobic, dehumanizing, violating energy while I've been desperately trying to prove to the world that I'm worthy of a willing partner. Playing games like a child has made it impossible to directly connect with another real being who wants to co-create with me. I realized no one showed me how to grieve instead of destroy, how to let go and trust, how to receive instead of take, which is a big one, how to receive instead of to take, how to be invited instead of to push, curiosity versus projection. For example, disappointments that are felt allow me to see clearly, but clinging to ideals of wounds cause an indirectly contacted self-experience. Observing, being observed versus information becoming, which is separate but related aspects of a process that are not named or fixated by a capture, by a label, by a description or an adjective yet. So that it can all be what it is and flow along for a natural balance without a quick interference or intolerance, like, oh, no, not for me. Without actually experiencing as a practice, so that life in general becomes less weighed by the buried grief over a loss or the transitions, and releasing the need for ignorance by being a conscious container to allow myself and others to have emotions that are passing through. My higher self says God will protect my preciousness until I know how to, because I can finally trust I'm precious, and by extension, my care is precious. My core is precious. To stop catering to objectification, which is a type of abuse, where it's like a vending machine. You give something that the person wants rather than the whole you. I have to maintain focused care on myself, impressing myself, protecting my preciousness, and then I won't excuse others or blame myself for their treatment of me or their standards. And just plugging in. And then we end up with more space to breathe and express and grow, less rush toward a particular outcome that I'm feeling or I'm forced into because of a lack of options or presence. In other words, if I had other options, maybe I wouldn't go through with this. My higher self, or the one that connects with godliness, says, life will be open and be willing with me if I'm willing and open to meet it. I don't have to hold on to anything on the outside, because the conscious man for me doesn't withhold to have power. This is the root of that core wound, right? In protecting it. So in other words, he doesn't want me to devalue my preciousness. It would be an insult to him to be with someone who he has to devalue. A conscious man, for me, joins me in protecting it and is impressed enough by me, not destroying myself, that he doesn't want to destroy me, but rather impress me. My willingness to be here for what life offers me will give me a man who will offer me whatever I want together. In other words, my yearning is so precious to him that I'm not a vending machine, right? That I didn't want to be destroyed, that I'm precious enough to not allow myself to be destroyed. And I want to say because Pesach is coming up tomorrow, I'm going to read two things from Zohar. This is written by the Holy Zohar, the Radiance. Zohar kind of relates to the word radiance, by Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai. For 13 years in a cave with his son and his friends when they finally wrote it all down. And so on Bo, the portion of Bo, as far as I remember, this is in Shemos, Exodus book. There's 5 books. Piece 191, the blood of the Passover sacrifice on one side of the mezuzah lintel, and blood of the circumcision on the other side. We can kind of think of it as a woman on one side and a man on the other side, and the yud in the middle. It refers to the woman that only a female can give birth. So, and then on the other side, only a man could have a circumcision. Women are technically born circumcised. There's no piece that needs to be removed that gets in the way. So then there's the Lubavitcher Rebbe, who I mentioned earlier, on the Parsha Vayechi, refers to the Yud as the pure neshama, as it is above. So neshama being soul, Yud being the letter that is the 10th letter, and it's the smallest letter. It's a piece of every single word, because every letter starts with the Yud, and literally God's name starts, the Tetragrammaton starts with a Yud. And in piece 190, right before it says, in the future, which could be now, right? The future when this was written could be right now. God will slaughter the other side. The world will be circumcised. The residual effects in consciousness of destroyed, be destroyed, the destroyer, that energy will be slaughtered. So the way they slaughtered the lamb of the Passover sacrifice. So here we have the woman that makes the sacrifice. She gives birth. Only a woman could do that. Then we have the man who has a circumcision. Only a man could do that. And in the middle is the yud. And now we have that the other side will be slaughtered. So the destroyed and the destroyer, to be destroyed or to destroy. So the woman has to be kind of destroyed from the inside, right? And the man has to destroy his circumcision. This is all the destroyer energy. Why do I say this? Because when the woman was cursed that she would have pain when she gives birth, when the sin of the eating from the knowledge of good and evil tree, the fruit, and the man then had the circumcision, like the snake, had the part, that the foreskin that needs to be circumcised. So that's kind of where I'm going with this, that there's going to be that original sort of reproductive healing, right? Deeper. So I covered here the physical, the spiritual, the mental, and the relational and the emotional reproductive healing. Gonna start getting ready to be preparing for the Passover holiday shortly, and wish you all a beautiful, blessed, and wonderful day. God willing, I'll have a video tomorrow. Bye-bye.